G'day guys, it's your old pal Nick from the Bulldog Fanatic. Now this is part 2 of my AFL ladder predictions from 9th to 1st, and including, awards such as Premier, Brownlow Medal, Coleman Medal, Rising Star and Surprise All-Australian. So hopefully you guys enjoy. I wanted to separate it in 2 parts because I just figured it'd be easier for me to edit. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy, and as always, go your mighty Bulldogs.
In 9th position, I have the St Kilda Footy Club rising quite a few spots from last year. Of course, they re-signed Nasai Wanganeen-Miller, who could win the Brownlow this year and could be the best player in the competition by the end of the year. They also brought in Tom De Koning on huge money as a free agent from Carlton, along with Jack Silvani, as well as bringing in small forward Liam Ryan from the Eagles and Sam Flanders from the Gold Coast Suns, who, by the way, I think will be great, especially for Supercoach purposes. But yeah, with St Kilda, I just think they're young talents. A lot of their young talent is very developed, like Mateus Philippou. I think he's going to get more midfield minutes after an injury plague last year and just take it to the next level. Max King raises their ceiling, but at the moment, as I'm recording this, he's going to be out for another part of a huge chunk at the first half of the season, with more knee problems. It's just crazy with Max King. I cannot get him on the park. But I like their defense. Their defense is very solid with the Flying Viking and Cal Wilkie. And of course, Jack Sinclair as their running halfback, as he and Wilkie are co-captains. And yeah, the two tandems in the ruck, Marshall and Tom De Koning, they can be a dangerous force, as well as them rest forward while the other is in the ruck. That's going to cause a headache for so many teams. I just feel like St Kilda are rising, especially with the excitement of Nas. So that's why I think St Kilda could finish higher. They could generally get a top 6 spot if all things click together. But for me, will these new recruits gel together straight away? It might take a bit of time. I'm not sure, but I just feel like with the rapid improvement of their young guys, like Nas, like Darcy Wilson, like Mateus Philippou, like Hugh Garcia and Hugh Boxshall, as well as crafty small forward Jack Higgins, I think St Kilda's in for a massive season. And they can range anywhere from 12th to maybe top 4. But for now, I've got them in 9th. In 8th spot, I've got the Adelaide Crows. Now, the Crows, they did finish first last year with 18 wins, but, they got exposed in the past and they didn't even win a single quarter, and they had a very good injury list, as in, they had a very healthy injury list for the majority of the year, so not a lot of their best players, or even most of their players, were out for any period of time. But that's already changed this offseason. Quite a few injuries, like Dan Curtin and Mark King being out for extended periods this season. So 2 of their more important players. Of course, Isaac Rankin will miss the first game due to his suspension from last year. And with the Crows, they didn't add anyone into their midfield. And their midfield was a weakness. It got exposed in the finals. So I just feel like the Crows are going to come down a bit. I still think they'll be very good, but it might be a stagnation here. And they still have a darn good forward line. They still have the great fancy LA Oval, but I think the Crows are just going to slide down a little bit. But I still think they'll be very good. In 7th spot, I've got my Western Bulldogs. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't see us improving by that much, but hopefully enough to make finals. But I put us in the wildcard position because that's just such a Bulldogs thing to do, isn't it? So we all know last year we were flat track bullies. We pretty much beat up on every side below us, but we only beat one side above us, and that was the Giants twice, who we have their number on. So, yeah, it wasn't ideal. And we all know about the Bulldogs' offensive talent. Like, in the foreline, you got Aaron Norton and Sam Darcy. And a plethora of good small forwards like Riley West, and hopefully the return of Cody Waitman. Then you got us in the midfield. You got Vaughn, you got Ed Richards, you got Tom Liberatore, you got Matt Kennedy, and the hosts of youngsters like Joel Frazier and Riley Sanders, as well as a very good ruckman, Tim English. That's going to really be, well, I think the new ruck rules are really going to suit him, so I'm excited for that. But I just don't trust us defensively. I just think our personnel down back is not great, and the system that we play does not help them one bit. Our defensive transition is woeful. Hopefully improves this year, but I'm not putting my money on it or anything. So, yeah, and I know we got Connor Butterick from the Suns as a replacement for Taylor Trace. That should help us somewhat defensively, but is it a needle mover for us to propel us into the top 4? I'm not sure, because the talent we do have offensively is top 4 quality, but I just don't know defensively if we can hold up, because, yeah, after last year, can we really get better offensively? Probably not. It's all about the defensive side of the game for the Bulldogs, and I just don't know if we're going to improve that much. So I'm just going to be realistic and objective and say we'll finish 7th, because we just love finishing 7th, don't we? In 6th spot, I've got the Hawthorn Footy Club. They made it all the way to a prelim last year, and they did it without Will Day in the finals, which unfortunately for him, he will be missing the first few months of the season. Just that guy can't not get any luck, with his body, which is unfortunate because they didn't get Zach Merritt in the trade period. So Hawthorn's midfield is actually gotten weakened because James Warple left in free agency to the Cats. So yeah, Hawthorn's midfield's a question mark, but does allow the opportunities for others such as Connor McDonald and Nick Watson to get more midfield time, which could add a bit of dynamic in there. Hawthorn's back half is probably their strongest asset. Barras, Battle, Sicily, Scrimshaw, Impey, Amon. They are just an absolute. They got one of the best backlines down there, so that's not a worry. And then the forward line, their key forwards, they're pretty good, but I don't think they want to rely on Jack Gunston kicking 70 goals again. I don't think he's going to be washed, but him to kick 70 goals again will be pretty hard to back up. So, Mitch Lewis and Kelshi are probably going to be the ones taking that next step, to take the load off Jack Gunston. And of course, they have the smalls of Nick Watson and Jack Enemy, which are always dangerous and always annoying to play against. So I think Hawthorn will have another very good solid season. I think Sam Mitchell, the genius, is one of the best coaches in the league, and their system and just the aura that Hawthorn have is really good. So I think they'll finish in 6 because I think the midfields because the sides put above them have better and deeper midfields. But I wouldn't be surprised if Hawthorn make it all the way to a grand final this time. In 5th spot, I've got the Geelong Footy Club. Yes, Geelong obviously in the grand final, got slaughtered by Brisbane in the second half. And with teams that get smashed by over 40 points in grand finals in the last 15 years, record's not good. I don't think a team in the last 15 years that's got smashed by 40 points or more in a grand final has gone beyond the semi-final of the season following. So history doesn't bode well for the Cats. But it's the Cats, and they've only missed finals twice in the last 15 years. So I back them to have another very, very good season. They might start the season a bit slow, given they had a much shorter preseason, and they've had a few injuries. Hattie Dangerfield, Paddy Smith under injury clouds, and Jeremy Cameron's had a very injury interrupted preseason. So I think the Cats are going to be very good, especially with their midfield getting boosted by James Warple. So that'll help their in and under game. Shannon Neal will take the next step, and I think Lawson Humphrey is going to have a huge breakout season. I can see him being in the All-Australian halfback conversation because what I saw in State of Origin from him was simply lovely. So, yeah, I think Geelong will be once again very good. I think they'll fall off a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be anything disastrous. So, yeah, I've got the Cats in 5th. In 4th spot, I've got the Gold Coast Suns. Yes, the Suns, they made it to their first final last year, and they won in a remarkable fashion. And the Suns, they did lose quite a few role players in the off-season, like Malcolm Roses and Connor Butterick and Ben Ainsworth. But they just got Ezekiel and Dylan Patterson, via their academy. So the Suns are sorted when it comes to young talent. And the Suns are still quite young, but they also have a lot of guys in their prime, such as their 2 superstars, Brownlow medalist Matt Rowell and Coach Association Player of the Year Noah Anderson. So yeah, those two are going to really propel them into, if they can win a premiership. But I think they've got more support around them with the arrival of Christian Petrarca, who I think will refine his form after, probably being checked out of the Melbourne Footy Club a little. But I think with a fresh start for him and in a better contending side, I think he's going to have a great year and really take the load off Rowell and Anderson, as well as Tuka Miller. Bailey Humphrey nearly got traded last year. I think it's a big year for him. Interesting to see what his mid-forward split is. Ben King had his best season last year, kicking 70 goals and being one of the best sharpshooters in the game. So I could see him winning the Coleman medal. Who knows? They get the return of Charlie Ballard to help out Sam Collins and really provide a good 1-2 punch key defensive duo. I think Will Powell will take his game to the next level and play a bit more midfield. So, yeah, I just think the sky is the limit for the Suns. Haha! And, yeah, they have a great home field advantage. I just think the confidence of last year making finals, it's just gonna get better. I just feel like it's going to get better. Their confidence will improve and they won't drop those games where they're expected to win, which they did a few times last year, which did ultimately cost them top 4. But I don't think that'll happen this year. And they did recruit Jamara. I have no idea how he's going to do, but it's the shot in the dart type situation. It's not, you know, low risk, high reward type, recruit by the Suns. Going for pick 70, which I'm still bitter about. But yeah, I think Gold Coast will cook this year. In third spot, I've got the two-time reigning premiers, the Brisbane Lions. I mean, what else is there to say about Brisbane? They're going for the 3-peat. I mean, they've just got a lot of their guys, their best players in their prime, and they recruited well. Despite losing Brand Sasovich and Kalachi, I think they improved. Getting Dan Annable in their draft via their academy and recruiting Sam Draper and Oscar Allen via free agency. So that's going to boost them in the ruck because of Oscar McInerney retiring, and Draper being a quite athletic, jumpy ruck is going to help them with the new ruck rules. And Oscar Allen, he's better than Eric Hipwood, and Eric Hipwood's going to be out for a large chunk of the year. So Oscar Allen and Logan Morris should be a good 1-2 punch in the forward line. Of course, they get the return of guys like Lincoln McCarthy and Keaton Coleman, which is just going to boost their depth even more. Of course, they got the unbelievable midfield of Hugh McCluggage, Josh Dunkley, two-time North Smith medalist, and Lockie Neal, which I will discuss Lockie Neal in a different video about my thoughts on him after his most recent off-season, but, he's still a great player, and got a terrific midfield. Levi Ashcroft's probably going to get more midfield time and his game to the next level, just like his brother Will, who Will could be a top 10 player by the end of the year, even though he's won 2 North Smith medals. But in terms of a home and away season, Will Ashcroft could have a top 10 in the comp style season. They have Harris Andrews in their backline. Their backline's very, very stable. They're just great all around the ground. They don't really have many weaknesses, and they obviously have an amazing home at the Gabba. And I think they'll be motivated because the Lions are a deep team, and some players like Keaton Coleman and Lincoln McCarthy, they never won a flag. So I think the group will be motivated to go for this 3-peat. And they may have a slow start to the year, but I think they'll come rushing home with a storm to end the home and away season. And it doesn't really matter where they finish, as long as they have a good home and away season, they'll have every chance to win the premiership as anyone else. So that's why I got the Lions in third. In second spot, I've got the Fremantle Footy Club. Yes, I'm high on the Dockers this year, They've got all the talent in the world, and they improved it by getting Judd McVie. And I guess Mason Cox, just to help them in the ruck. But yeah, Fremantle are stacked everywhere. Their midfield is deep. Their backline is very stable. And their forward line is great in terms of talls and smalls. I think Murphy Reid could play more midfield after having an amazing first season winning the Rising Star Award. And their forwards are just going to get better. Josh Tracy could generally win the Coleman medal. The big kahuna is that powerful. Luke Jackson, who the hell knows where he's going to play? Whether it be ruck, midfield, forward. The Unicorn is a very unique player, but a bloody good one. So, yeah, with Freo, I think it's mental because a lot of the times last year, they got off to really crappy starts against teams lower than them, and then they really had to rely on comebacks in the second half to win games, and I don't think they want to do that again. I think they want to get more convincing wins, and solidify a top 4 position, because talent-wise, they've probably got one of the best 2 or 3 lists in the competition. I really rate their list, but Freo need to ditch, the chip mark game and long down the line kick. They need to go for a more quick ball transitional game, which I think they're going to adapt, because they have the talent to do it, but can Justin Lomua do it? Who knows? It's a big year for Justin Lomua. So, yeah, I think Freo, talent-wise, are up there. And I think they're going to show it by finishing second. And in first spot, I've got the Sydney Swans. After getting smashed in the 2024 Grand Final by Brisbane, they fell off hard last year, mainly due to injury. But I think the PTSD of the Grand Final was still there and lurking. Now, the Swans should have a bit more injury luck this year. And of course, a big reason why I got them first is because they got a massive recruit in 2-time Coleman medalist Charlie Curnow. So, yeah, it's got the hype. Maybe not quite as when Buddy arrived to Sydney, but not far off. And I think he's going to be a big reason why, in my opinion, the Swans will be the biggest riser in the competition and go well back into the top 4. I mean, they got probably the best 5 players in the comp. Not the 5 best players, you know what I mean? In a team, of Heaney, Gould, and Warner in the midfield, Blakey of halfback, and Curnow in the forward line. That's a pretty good, top 5 players to have at any club. Brody Grundy looked amazing last year, and I think he's going to continue that. They also brought in Jai Sarong to help their defence. That's the thing. That's the only weakness I'd say with Sydney. Tom McCartan, Lewis Melican, Jai Sarong as like your key backs is. If Tom McCartan goes down, I think they're a bit cooked. They do rely on him a lot, and it's quite an undersized backline. So that's the only query I have. But they got great small forwards in Tom Papley and of course the recruit of Malcolm Roses to replace Will Hayward, who got traded. So yeah, with the Swans, I just think they're going to be rejuvenated. They have a pretty solid home ground advantage at the SCG. I just think they got match winners right across the ground in all defence, forward, and the midfield. So I think Sydney are going to be back, and in my opinion, win the minor premiership.
Awards predictions time. Now, I think my premier will be the Brisbane Lions, and they will play the Sydney Swans in the grand final. Hopefully it's not a spanking like it was a couple of years ago, but yeah, that's my grand final prediction. And my North Sydney, I'm going to go Zach Bailey. Why not? I think Zach Bailey, he had a great grand final last year, but Zach Bailey probably got let him down and cost him a North medal.
My rising star prediction, I'm going to go with Jagger Smith. It's the obvious figure. He just oozes class and oozes composure, and I think he's going to have a massive impact on Carlton's success in the midfield and be a genuine game changer for them. And he just oozes class and has that aura, Jagger Smith. If I had to say someone else, I'm going to say Dyson Sharp from Essendon, because I really like the look of him. And he's probably going to play a lot of half forward, but yeah, I really like Dyson Sharp. In terms of Coleman medal prediction, I got to be biased here. I'm going to choose Sam Darcy. I mean, the unicorn. He's just so good below his knees or in the air. It's simply fun to watch. And I think he kicked only 50 goals from only 18 games last year. If he plays pretty much every game, I can see him kicking 70 plus goals. So yeah, I think he'll win the Coleman, and he'll get stronger, and hopefully he matches up better against those top teams, which he didn't do quite last year. In terms of my Brownlow medal prediction, I'm going to go Nick Dacos. Surely Nick Dacos. Umpires can now look at the stats, and I think Nick will be a big beneficiary of that. And he doesn't have votes, and he doesn't have any players in his team taking votes off him, so I think Nick Dacos will finally win his first Brownlow medal. Surprise All-Australian. I'm going to go with Judd McVie from the Fremantle Dockers. I just feel like he's going to be a great recruit for them, and he and Jordan Clark are going to complement each other so well. Now, this is a surprise All-Australian, so I don't expect him to make it, but I could see it. I feel like a new club, new environment, back at his home in WA, Judd McVie. I just feel like with, that Freo system, I feel like he's going to really thrive off that, and with the way they're going to play. So yeah, Judd McVie as my surprise All-Australian.